Hey, stay right there because I got Paul Taylor from Winger coming up, and we're going to chat about his whole career from starting out with Aldo Nova to Alice Cooper to Winger to the TV and film work that he's done, making music for that, to co-writing the new Skid Row song, the music with Mick Mars on Mick's new solo record. Lots of great stories and insight from Paul Taylor, one of the best in the business, coming right up. Oh, and a special shout out to Stevie Rochelle from Tough for this awesome t-shirt. If you can see it, it's very cool. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to follow Stevie Rochelle and Metal Sludge and Tough on social media. Stay right there. Okay, please welcome Paul Taylor to the show. How's it going, Paul?
Hey, Chuck. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that's exciting. So right off the bat, I got to ask you about the new Skid Row song, because I love that song. The gang's all here. Now, you co-wrote this with Rachel and Snake?
I did, yeah. Rachel had asked me, like, boy, we were just talking the other day. It seems like it was yesterday we did it, but it was actually in 2018. He said, hey, we might need a couple other tracks for the record. Do you want to get together and try and bang something out? And we had noodled on a couple other songs. And so I said, yeah, sure. So we got together and just cranked it out and, got as far as we could. And then Snake was coming to town. So he came to my house the following day. And the three of us got together and kind of finished it up. And, then we made some mild changes later. But it was a lot of fun. I love those guys.
So what is your contribution? Because, I know that song backwards and forwards. I don't know how many downloads it has on Spotify, but half of those are probably mine. Like, I've listened to that so many times.
Oh, man. I had some riffs. We started with a riff, I think, that I had, and we just went from there. And, we worked a little bit on that in my studio on the lyrics and stuff. And then, of course, Rachel took it and made a meal out of it, so.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But it was a real collaborative effort, and those guys, they know how to write a song. So I felt blessed to just even be asked, and but little did I ever think it was going to become, the first single. And I don't even think they knew till way later in the game too. And so it was okay. A lot of fun.
Yeah, I love it. It sounds like it was written in 1990, like right between their first and second albums. It sounds like it's right in the middle of that. I love it. I love the way it sounds.
Yeah, that's what people are saying. It's great. The fun part of it for me is that it's good high energy song, and
yes.
Being a keyboard player, everybody's always asking me to write ballads and stuff, and so it was fun just to write some ripping up tempo rock song. And then of course, they've done a singer change, and Eric is somebody that I had seen on one of the cruises 3 years ago. And me and Kip were out on the pool deck, and Heat came on, and we're like, man, who is this guy? And Kip's like, God, that kid's a star, man. He definitely sings his buns off.
Yeah, he sounds amazing. Like, they've had a few singers, but this guy, yeah, you're right. He's like a star. Like, he really, I don't know if it was the new song and the direction with the new singer. Everything about that new song is amazing. So I'm looking forward to more. Did you write any of the other songs?
No, I did. They did have some other outside, like I think Marty Fredrickson wrote one, and maybe Lizzie, from Hailstorm. So
wow.
Those guys, they know how to write a song. They can crank them out. So anyway, but I will say I've heard some of the other stuff on the record, and it's really good, man.
Really? Does it all sound like that kind of era of like the 1990 kind of era, or is it kind of more eclectic?
Oh gosh, I'll leave that to everybody to determine. But I just was like, wow, this is a really strong record. So
I can't wait. They were probably at one point they were like my number one favorite band in high school. I really liked them a lot. And then because I grew up in Seattle in the 90s, so then it was like, oh shit, like we're losing all these like hard rock. It was more the grunge, which I like that too. But I really like the more high energy, fun stuff like that. It was a lot of fun to listen to that.
I know it's the stuff I heard was rocking, and of course Nick did an incredible job producing, and so.
Wait, Nick, what's
Lennox?
Oh yeah. He worked with like Foo Fighters and stuff, right?
Velvet Revolver and all kinds of bands. He did a fantastic job.
Yeah, and then now you wrote with Mick Mars and Jacob Bunton for Mick Mars' solo record. Can you talk about that?
Well, I can say yes, I did. And,
okay.
I can say, as Mick would put it, yeah, it's really mean. It's awesome, man. We spent a couple of years just putting ideas together and, basically going off what Mick had created. Like the guy is just incredibly, he comes up with the most unique stuff and gave us a lot to work with. And we all just kind of got together and put them in kind of a chronological order and, slowly got a record happening. So yeah, looking forward to, we're hoping to get that out at the end of the year. And it's very heavy and it's really, really interesting. I think people will be really surprised.
So are you like are you playing every song, or was it just a couple songs that you played with or co-wrote, or?
All of them except one. He did an instrumental at the end. So, but we wrote, 9 songs and put it all together. And I'm so excited about, it finally coming out at whatever point it does. Of course, that's in the hands of the label and all that now. So I'm just, I'm moving on to other stuff here. I got a lot of Winger dates coming up, and I'm actually working on maybe a record for just me, which I've never done before. So
that would be fun.
Yeah, it'd be like Paul Taylor and Friends, because I'm not a great singer. I can sing backups, but I've got a bunch of leftover material for all things I had tried to pitch to Winger or any of these other projects. And so I just thought, man, I'm just gonna get some of these recorded up and have some different friends sing on them and see, just not to have it go anywhere or become something amazing, but just to do it just for me,
No, that sounds awesome. Can you say who the friends would be? I mean, I could probably guess but you have a lot of friends.
Well, any of those incredible singers I've been lucky enough to work with, I don't have any specific guys in mind for the specific songs I've got yet, but as I finish them and kind of go, okay, I'm hearing so-and-so sing on them, I'll give them a call and see if I can get them to help me out.
Okay. Yeah. My only advice to you would be shoot for the moon, baby. And ask for those like people that you think are going to say no, ask anyways. 'Cause you never know. They might say yes.
They might. And I get it if they say no. I understand,
Yeah.
A lot of stuff going on and, so, and it's just, like I say, it's just a creative, fun thing that I probably should have done it a long time ago. I've got such personal stuff left over, and I used to write a ton of stuff for TV as well.
Right.
And so I just like, and there's all these just pieces of things I never finished. And so it's just kind of a good excuse to get some of those done and out there as well.
So would that be like that's got to be totally eclectic then, right? I mean, it's everything from your career.
Yeah, it's all over the map. I mean, not that I'm going to release some of this, I had to write tons of pop stuff for TV and, R&B and blues and Motown stuff. And, that stuff's in catalogs and, it's on TV all the time. But no, it mostly just kind of, it's definitely in the rock genre, but, changing styles from anywhere from very, very heavy stuff all the way to kind of almost journey-ish, since, I used to work with Steve Perry and all that. So I was writing a lot of ideas kind of, in that vein for the 3 years I worked with Steve. So
awesome. And then you said the new Winger, I think it's the 7th album, it's already written, and is it mostly done? We're just waiting for a date on that?
Yeah, it's done. And I think Kip's just mixing it at this point. Everybody did their parts quite a while ago, but of course, our band, we're scattered all over the US. So with us, it's kind of not as simple getting stuff together sometimes, like when we do a show and we switch the setup, it's like, oh gosh, well, everybody do your homework because we're not going to be rehearsing, but it was fun this year, right before we did the cruise, the Monsters of Rock cruise, we got together and did a 2-day rehearsal where we were finally able to work on some new stuff that we hadn't done. And we put together a medley of all the bands well, not all the bands, but some of the bands that we'd all played in. And that was a blast. And we did it. And then we thought at the end of the day, rehearsing, we're like, God, is this going to go over? Are people going to think it's dumb? And we said, well, let's just do it the first night on the cruise. And if it goes over, we'll do it again on the second night. And we were just, that was probably the best response to anything we've ever gotten. And so we did it both nights. And now whenever we have John Roth playing with us, we'll probably do it because John's singing a number of the songs. So
okay.
He's got a lot of dates with the Starship, and we've got Rebs out with Whitesnake, and so this year is a lot of maneuvering. So
now would you tour with Mick Mars and the solo stuff, or would he? I mean, I guess he's got that stadium tour, so who knows?
Yeah, that'll be up to Mick, and that would be off in the future. And I haven't heard anything to that. I know he's got a lot to do with Motley. So
does he live in Nashville? Because I know you're in Nashville, right?
He does.
Okay. So maybe at least you could do a local show or something. That would be fun.
I would love it. That would be up to on him, and
Do you see guys like that? Like, you must see those people all the time in Nashville. Like, just run into them at clubs and things.
You do. It's a small town, and not all of them like to get out, but I mean, there's a few guys that like to get out, and like I see Vince Gill in town a lot. He loves to go eat breakfast like I do, and just you'll spot a few of them out. I've seen Reba quite a bit. It's mostly the country people, of course. Although, as you know, there's a ton of '80s rock guys here now. So yeah, a ton of them.
Rachel from Skid Row's there.
Nelson's and Hailstorm and a million. Dave Mustaine was here for a while.
Right. Yeah.
Bret Michaels was here for a while, and there's Mark Slaughter.
Yeah. Troy and now, didn't you live next to Jeff LeBar from Cinderella? Wasn't he like your neighbor?
He lived across the street from me, and that was about 15 minutes out of town. And one day I'm out scraping ice off my windshield, and this car pulls somebody. He's like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm looking at Jeff, and I'm like, "Oh my God!" And he's like, "Dude, I live in that house," and so it's just crazy.
Yeah, so it's so sad that he passed away. Do you have any other memories or stories of him? Did you guys hang out a lot?
Of course, in the past, over the years, Winger had done a lot of shows with Cinderella, including the one big one where we kind of got the band back together with Poison and Cinderella and us and Faster Pussycat. That was in 2002, and we went out, and that's kind of when we rebanded the band, so we would say hi and stuff more in those days, but of course, I went on to go play in 2012. I played keyboards for 2 months with those guys, and that's where I got to spend more time. And Jeff's just a great guy, and miss him a lot. And very thankful that it was, a couple months before he passed away, I was at a barbecue, just a small barbecue at a studio, and he was there, and Eric was there, and the three of us hung out. And you just never know. Would I think at that barbecue that would be the last time I'd see him. So. But yeah, good guy and so talented, and what a great stage presence and great guitar player. And he's got a son, Sebastian, that boy, he's like a little spitting image of Jeff, and also equally just an amazing little guitar player. So.
Oh yeah, I was supposed to. I think somebody had mentioned maybe I should have him on at my show. I probably should reach out.
He's a great little guitar player and super good kid, and he's out there doing it, carrying on the torch.
It's got to be hard as a younger musician. Like, what advice would you give to younger musicians? Because the industry has changed so much since when you started.
Oh man, I know. Honestly, I don't know. I ponder it all the time because it's changing faster than I can keep up with, and it's just hard to tell. I don't think anybody knows. We're just all hanging on for dear life, and grateful that we still have the shows coming in, and God, we've had so many little bumps in the road the last couple of years, of course, with COVID. That wiped out, 2 years of shows for us. And then even once we got going, and they would randomly get canceled because somebody, even if we were healthy, somebody at the venue would get sick or so. But yeah. And just the way you make money, or, the whole streaming thing, or don't make money, more like, but, it's a tough biz these days.
Yeah, because on the one hand, it was like back in the day, it was like you got a record label or record deal, and that was like, okay, you did it, but even then it wasn't for sure. But now it's like you don't even need a record label, but then it's like, how do you get to the top? It's like, I don't know, it seems so competitive. It was competitive back in the day. Now it's even more competitive.
I can't even imagine being a young band trying to stand out in the crowd. like you say, I mean, there's just bands everywhere. And, anytime you're on the internet or TV, all the TV, there's just talent everywhere. So I think people have become really numb. You find a new amazing guitar player, an incredible new singer, and everybody's like, oh, that's nice. I've heard 10 great singers on this or that show, So I don't know. You just keep going and, just whatever. I just kind of look for whatever kind of comes into my immediate area, and I go, oh man, they're cool. And I know them now, and I'd love to work with them, and for me, like, writing's always been kind of the thing that I just love the most. And, if I had to stop touring tomorrow, that wouldn't hurt me as much as if someone said, well, you get to tour, but you can't write, that's my creative outlet. I just love putting stuff together in the studio. And
do you get approached a lot by younger up and coming bands to write or play on their albums or things like that?
I do. And I've kind of not been doing it over the last year, especially, and a lot of them have been from overseas. And I just, just for the same reason, I don't even do Zoom writes or anything. I like to just be in the room and just have that immediate interaction when I'm writing. So, and I guess, I don't know, some people it's easy for them to do that, but I like to have people there. So,
yeah. Well, so when you started out, I mean, I guess your big break would have been the Aldo Nova thing, and you auditioned for him. How many people, do you remember, or do you even know how many people you beat out to get that job?
None. Really. What happened was he came to the Bay Area, and I don't remember why he was in San Francisco looking for the band. He might have known one of the guys because we had Kevin Carlson and Billy Carmassi, Denny's little brother, was the drummer.
Okay.
He had come to town. I'd actually met him at a party, and he was around for like a week. And I'm like, everybody's talking, oh, Aldo. And he had this, tape under his hand. He's like, this is my record. And, we were all like, we didn't know whether he was telling the truth or not. But of course, he was. And so he put a band together, and he had a keyboard player, but I guess within the week had decided he just didn't care for him. And so he had remembered meeting me, and the other guys all knew me. And so they said, yeah, we can get a hold of him. So they did. And I just went down and played a few songs, and he's like, okay, you're it. Which at the time I didn't know what I was getting into, but boy, first thing they did was send us to LA to shoot the Fantasy video, and also a video of Ball and Chain. And we didn't even know what a video was.
So crazy.
Because that was 81, late 81, and MTV came out, I think, in 82. And they said, oh, it's this thing that, they make little videos to play in between Showtime movies. And we're like, oh, okay. So we got down there and like, what do we do? And they're like, just act like you're playing. And, but boy, the record came out, and that single, Fantasy, just shot up the charts. And we went out initially with Hall & Oates that was going to be our first tour. We got out for about a week and a half, and then Billy came down with chicken pox. So we got quarantined off the tour. And by the time he got well, the record was just, going through the roof. And so we ended up taking off with Blue Oyster Cult for 2 months. And then we played the Pasadena Rose Bowl, sold out with Blue Oyster Cult, Triumph, and Journey. And I couldn't even believe it. I'd never played anything bigger than a club, and all of a sudden I'm playing for 75,000 people,
That's amazing. And that kind of led to Alice Cooper, but wasn't it the story that like you had produced a demo for Vane, and then that's how they found you, or so? That kind of helped.
It is. You've done your homework. Me and Davey grew up together, Davey Vane, and would always sit in coffee shops down in Coddingtown Mall in Santa Rosa and look for girls, and thing young guys do, I guess. And but it always hung. And funny enough, Dave used to come and see. We had a band called Stark Raving Mad, and Dave used to just come follow us and all that. And one day he bought our guitar player Donovan's guitar, a Les Paul, but he didn't play or sing or anything. And it had to be like less than a year later. He calls me one day and goes, hey, dude, come see my band play at Uncle Charlie's. I'm like, your band? Like, when did you, I didn't even know he had tried to learn how to play guitar, and definitely not be a lead singer. And I went down, and, I remember just going, well, this possibly couldn't be very good. He's only been doing this a small amount of time. And I walked out, they played, and of course they had all the hair and and Davey was just like, I've never seen more confidence coming off a stage. Like, I was like, man, he's a star, you know, like he just was just amazing. I was shocked. I remember walking out going, okay, I wouldn't have called that one. But yeah, so we would mess around with music a little bit, but Kat Zerdowski, who we all grew up with as well, who went on to become a big, manager for a lot of people. She had taken this little demo that they had asked me to help them with. And I wasn't a producer or anything, but I just said, look, I'll help you guys as good as I can. And we did some songs together. And I think I even played a solo on one of the songs. And Kat took that tape, and she's a total go-getter, and she sent it all over the place. And a girl in New York saw my name on there and recognized it from the Aldo days and was like, and she was trying to find members for the Alice Cooper band. So yeah, she's like, hey, are you the guy that played with Aldo? And I said, yeah. And she's like, man, we desperately need a guy that can play guitar and keys equally well and sing backups for Alice. Are you interested? And I was like, oh my God, yeah. So
that's awesome.
That was that,
And so did you record? I thought I heard you say that you recorded Under My Wheels with Axl, and was Slash on that one too?
No, just Axl.
Just Axl. Okay. But that must have been, were you there when Axl was there in the studio?
I don't think I was. That all came down right in the final weeks before I left Alice to go with Winger. And I remember it was causing me some flight. I had to fly between London and New York to because I was just transitioning. Me and Kip had left first. We told Alice, we wrote some songs that whole first year, and we got a deal on Atlantic, and Alice was like, that's great, man, go do it. So I had told Alice I would play. We had some European dates, and I had to finish those out. And I think they recorded all that stuff with Axl before I got back. I mean, that's so long ago, I can't even remember, but it was fun. But we did do some stuff with Slash. Slash came down, and Rob Zombie, when we recorded the live record down in Cabo with Alice.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Oh, it was really fun. We did it at Cabo Wabo. Sammy was real nice and gave us the club for 2 weeks, and he got up and jammed with us, and it was a blast. It was an amazing 2 weeks.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Yeah. So you leave Alice Cooper, and then you guys go off and do Winger. You only did 2 of the albums. You didn't do the third one, right? With Pull. Right.
Yeah. Then me and Kip had been literally in each other's face for 6 straight years, like, inseparable. And I think, you've got to take a break from, and it was just like, we'd look at each other. We weren't fighting, but I think we were both just like, oh my God, you again, so I left. I was kind of getting tired of the road at the time, and I left and joined up with Steve Perry at that.
Right.
And the timing was kind of interesting, because it was only about, I think, 5 months later that, I met Kip and Reb at Jerry's Deli in LA, and they told me, hey, guess what? We're calling it a day for a while. Cause things were this was like, oh gosh, I don't even remember what years, but the shows, the 80 thing had started kind of dying down, and, so. Yeah,
it was like perfect. You always it seemed like you always were able to like kind of jump ship and then like move on to the next thing. Just like perfect timing.
Dude, I have been really lucky. I mean, I have some talent too, but everything's timing. I mean, I've been really lucky. It's been quite a run. It's funny now. I'm getting older and kind of going, God, can't believe I'm still doing it and falling into things, and it's great.
That's really cool. I love the first 3. I mean, I love all the Winger albums really, but those first 3 especially. But is it the second one that had In the Heart of the Young, right? Because I didn't know the story. Like the album was done, and then this was like a Warrant Cherry Pie thing where they're like, hey, where's the rock songs? Where's the hits? So he had to go back in and write. Was it Can't Get Enough and Easy Come Easy Go?
Came after the record had been finished and handed in, and the label was like, what is this? Yeah, they thought it was way too progressive, which now over the history of all of our records, things like Tin Soldier or Rainbow in the Rose, we've got some pretty prog songs, but and that's, Kip's brilliant mind. I mean, the guy is, the body of work that guy's written since I've known him, and the whole thing with, he's got the San Francisco Ballet performing one of his things, and, Nashville Symphony just performed. He wrote a symphony for them 2 years ago that's unbelievably good. and all the
Wow.
stuff written and done for the Winger stuff is just mind-boggling.
Yeah. So the song, I love the song "Can't Get Enough." The way he sings, like it's understood. Did he come up with that? Was that on the demo, or is that something Beau Hill came up with after in production, or do you even know? I don't know if you know if for the singing parts.
Yeah, because I have the demos and stuff. No, Kip gets them the way he wants them, and then Beau's part in it would have just been purely, I mean, he came up with ideas as well, but mostly kind of the engineering part of it. I mean, Kip he knows the way he wants stuff to sound.
Yeah. Now, you guys, after that second album, is that when you toured with Kiss?
Oh boy, my time.
Or you did tour with Kiss though, with Winger, right? Or no?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Shade, it was right before Eric passed away, which just blew us all away as well. I mean, what a nice guy, and so sad. But yeah, we did. It was us, Slaughter, and Kiss on that tour, and I can't remember how long we were out. I think about a month.
Oh, okay. But do you have any memories of that? Like, everyone's got a good Gene Simmons story. Do you have a Gene Simmons story? Did you have any interactions with him, or?
Oh, none that I can really remember. But Gene, I mean, what a personality. I mean, the guy is bigger than life, and, it's funny. And my buddies, Ryan and all the guys that were playing with him on his solo thing, and now we're out with Ace Frehley. So I got to hang out on a couple of the solo shows, and, it was fun to see Gene not being in Kiss. He kind of loosens up a little bit more when he was just hanging with the guys in his own thing. And so that was fun to go see.
Oh, that's really cool. So, I mean, you like I said, we talked about, you joined Steve Perry, and you actually co-wrote "You Better Wait," which was a top 40 single in 1984, which was hard to do if you weren't doing alternative or grunge in the 90s, to write a rock song that was a hit. That's a pretty big accomplishment there.
Yeah, I mean, but I think Steve had been gone so long. I think people were just really anxious to hear his voice again, and we worked a long time on that record. We wrote it live. We wrote it jamming in a studio at Third Encore in Los Angeles in Studio B. And, we would see bands come in and they'd rehearse, and then they'd go out on tour and come back, and they're like, "Oh, you guys are back too, huh?" And we're like, "No, we never left," because we were just working on these songs for a long time. But, that was a fun project. And, what an amazing band with Moise Lucas Jr. on drums. To me, one of the most underrated drummers on the planet. We found him way late in the game after auditioning every best drummer on the planet. And then we had little Lincoln Brewster, who at the time looked like he was 10, but I think he was 19 when we put the band together. Just a tasteful, phenomenal guitar player. And Lincoln's gone on to have an amazing career in the Christian artist, thing, and real great sounding records he's putting out. And then Todd Jensen, our bass player, is now actually playing with Journey, and I will see him tomorrow night. So yeah, it was,
wow.
That was kind of ironic that he got that gig, but he had also played with me and Alice Cooper, and he'd also played with Neil in Hardline. So I guess it was, him and Dean are very good friends. So I guess it was a natural fit that he would get that gig, as, the fact that he toured with Steve playing all the Journey songs and all that.
Yeah. I like Journey. I don't know. I don't even know if you know, or if maybe this is a dumb question, but what is the history with Steve Perry and Journey? I don't even know why they broke up, or if there's bad blood, or I know they got that new singer and he's amazing, but I'm just like trying to figure out like what happened there. Like, why did they?
I think Steve just had gotten tired, and I mean, man, they put in a lot of years, and I get it. I mean, there's times where I just, like in the, the end of the 6 years with Kip, with, Alice and into Winger, and I was just starting to fall apart, man. It's like, God, I want to take a break for a while and just be in a studio and write. And, the road can really be grueling. So I think it was just, he needed to stop for a while, and kind of just recharge the batteries. And yeah.
So when you, like, things slow down in the 90s and maybe people aren't calling you as much to tour, like, what is that like as a musician? Do you have to just kind of sit back and wait and hope people call, or do you call around and kind of ask and put the feelers out there? Or?
Okay, so in the 90s, honestly, other than the Steve project, when that kept me going for 3 years, thankfully, but uh, honestly, I mean, for me, it didn't work very well. I mean, it was the first time in my life that all of a sudden I didn't have something, and then months went by and I still didn't have it, and then a year, and then I started panicking, and I, you know, it bummed me out. I got depressed for a while and kind of was like, and got snippy with people. I don't know, man. It was the one time in my life I think I almost started kind of falling apart, and but I just fought it every day. I was like, okay, I need to figure something out here. And I didn't know how to record. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go for it and buy stuff for the studio. And, computers were just starting to become the thing. And computers were the last thing in the world I ever wanted to be dealing with. That's why I was a musician. But I realized at that point, that's the direction it was heading. And so I got some stuff, and I took a year, and I sucked for a long time at it because I was ADD and couldn't sit in a room for longer than 10 minutes. But slowly I started doing it, and I got a thing where I got to write a couple blues things for a TV deal through Mark Ferrari. Me and Mark wrote a song, and it placed, and then it placed again. And he's like, man, let's write some more. And we started doing it, but my recording was average at best. And but I just kept at it. And it was about 2000 where all of a sudden I got asked to do a series of songs, and I did them. And I remember thinking, okay, I'm getting this. And I was spending longer and longer hours just editing and making stuff sound good. And so then I just took off writing tons of stuff for TV and film, along with Mark and a couple other guys. And I've continued to do that on the side, all these years. I think I have over 300 songs that I've written just for TV. And it bums me out because I don't have the publishing on them. So I can't even really play them or put them on, every time I do, because they're owned now by either Warner Chappell or Universal. And I'm not really allowed to do what I want or play them when I want, but.
So how did you said you just kept at it. Did you take lessons on how to record, or did you read books, or did you have someone help you, or classes?
Well, I wish there was all the YouTube stuff like there is now,
right?
No, and back then, anything you tried to put in your computer didn't work with the other thing. Like, okay, I'm going to run Pro Tools, but I'm going to run it with this interface. And of course, error message, and I'd sit on phone every day, with, tech support, and the tech support would say, no, it's not our thing, it's their thing. And it was very, very frustrating for me. It took everything for me just to kind of keep going. And of course I had some friends that were better at it than I was. And, I would drag them over, I tried not to bother them too much, but, so it was a very long process for someone like me. Some of my friends, man, they just have that brain.
Yeah.
Pull stuff up. But
yeah. So 2000 is when you think you kind of got there. So when did you start doing all the TV stuff and trying to record? Was it like 95 or?
God, probably around 95.
So it took about 5 years of trial and error and just pushing through. And
it was about 3 years. It was about 3 years where I kind of just was floundering a bit, and, in a good solid year where I was just really trying to get good with the equipment and all that. And, but, cause like I say, if it was now, everything, you throw it in a Mac and all the things read each other and everything's smooth, but not in those days,
Well, I feel like, even now I struggle with that stuff too. Like for my podcast, getting I got a new camera, and I was like, excited. Cause I was this camera looks so nice, but it doesn't sync with the audio. And so that was a giant nightmare trying to even with YouTube, it's sometimes hard to figure out how to do stuff.
Yeah. Well, or, I've gotten pretty good. I'm very good with Logic. I've been using it since before they even had audio with it.
Wow.
That was my first one I really got great at. And I've been using it pretty much, since the eMagic days. Now, of course, Apple owns it now, but I also run Pro Tools, and I mess around with Ableton, and all those are pretty, it takes me a little bit, and I go, okay, I get it. Yesterday I downloaded a free trial of Cubase. Oh my God. That one.
I've never even heard of that one.
Oh, it's a lot of film composers and people use it. It's called Cubase Pro or Nuendo. And man, I opened that one up, and it is a whole different animal that I am not going to be messing with. I know it does a lot of great stuff. It's a great program, but it's for a guy that does what I do, where it's pretty much just songwriting.
Yeah.
Logic definitely does everything I need. And, and I use Pro Tools to be compatible with some of the other people I record with, just so I can, trade files back and forth. But
right. So yeah, so although you said 300 songs, but the biggest one has to be the Sabrina the Teenage Witch theme song, right?
That was an amazing, that one did real well for me.
Does it still bring in money? Because that show's still got to be on like in other countries randomly, like random times. And
yeah, my friend Danny Lux, who actually was here for dinner last night, he's moved to Nashville now. He was swamped at the time, and he was doing the music for Sabrina, and they had decided Sabrina was going to go off to college and they needed a new main title. And he's just like, dude, I don't have time to do this, but if you want to go for it, go for it. And so I gave it a shot, and just lucked out. I mean, it took 3 tries. They kept changing their mind on what they wanted. And then we landed on this one, and they said, hey, bullseye, make it 5 seconds longer. We don't care how you do it. And you got a main title. And I was happy because at the time I didn't have a lot going. That was around the same time. That was about in 2000, just as I was starting to get good at recording. And I was like, wow, hope this happens. And, I couldn't believe it when I got it. And then, boy, the checks started rolling, and I was like, okay, that was a great little song for me. I kind of lived off it for 10 years.
yeah, that's okay. See, that's what I wonder. Cause like there's a guy here named Roger Klein. He was in a band called The Refreshments, and he wrote the theme song for the show King of the Hill. And I was like, I wonder if he just lives off those I mean, he does other stuff too, but I wonder if that was a big piece of how he could continue to make music.
Yeah. Main titles, if it's on a major network,
yeah,
titles are worth a lot of money, and they're very hard to get. And I'm so lucky, that Danny was nice enough to, hand that over to me. So,
yeah. And I heard you say now that it's even more competitive to try to get those things. And that's like such a big piece of money in music, I think, because you don't make any money off the record sales, right?
Well, not a lot, that's for sure. I mean, the best thing is if you're a band and you can get out there and, I see all these bands now, like, that are doing coffee or their own beer, like Dream Theater's got their own beer, and
right.
Of course, merch. I mean, merch is the percentages on merch have always been better than record sales. So, yeah. I've
heard like a band, what was it? The band the other day that said, we're a traveling t-shirt sales company and we play jingles to sell our t-shirts.
That's pretty accurate.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. Well, yeah. So I want to ask you about this. I heard you say in the 90s, I mean, obviously that was a tough time for Winger. And like one of the things was like Metallica in their video, like throwing the darts or whatever. But I heard you say that did Metallica call and apologize to Kip for that?
They've talked. Yeah, I know that Kip and them correspond now. So yeah, it's
wow.
I don't know exactly what was said, but
okay,
we're all good, man. And like he said, they were texting the other day, and that's great, man. That's the way it should be,
Yeah, I love to hear stuff like that. Because that's like, yeah, that's just cool to hear that when I like everyone to be friends. It's like, why not?
Yeah. Well, and to their defense, I mean, we were all a little cocky, and, in the old days, everybody was competitive. And
dude, I found this picture of you. It's so funny. It's a band picture, and your hair is so freaking like, how did you even get your hair that big? I gotta show you. You've probably seen it, but it's like, your hair is like, it's like a foot taller than Kip's. It's crazy.
Insane how big. Yeah. I just, geez, what are you going to do? Yeah. I honestly, I was the only one that never used any products. I mean, my hair was really coarse and wiry, and I'd kind of pull it out. And yeah, there's some very funny photos from the day. I mean, I say these days, it was like a walking palm tree,
Right. No, it's funny because like everyone was like doing 80s parties and stuff a while back. But then like there was a few years ago where there was actually a 90s party. And then I was looking at all the 90s fashion. I was like, the 90s fashion was maybe even more ridiculous than the 80s. I mean, it was just like these weird little things. Like everyone had the scrunchies and the flannels and the Doc Martens. And I mean, some of that stuff looks ridiculous now too. So it's just the sign of the times. Like,
yeah, it's always changing. And, like back in the, 70s, we would have been laughing at guys that were dressed like Elvis with the slick back hair,
Yeah.
It always changes. And, the best thing is if you can look back and just laugh at yourself,
Oh no, but I mean, the music is still
yourself that day and laugh at yourself, you know?
But the music has stood the test of time and people are still coming out to see you. I just saw you guys. That's actually the first time I've ever seen you. You played with Skid Row and Warrant in that casino in Arizona a few weeks ago or a couple months ago. And it was amazing. It was a giant venue, lots of people, everyone's screaming. It was a fun time.
Really fun show. And of course we were opening, so we only played, I think, like 8 songs. So it was pretty much all singles on our set that day. But yeah, that was a fun show. I mean, I remember hearing, oh, it's going to be in a pool area. And I thought, pool area? Like, who's going to show up? But I got out there and I was like, I saw all the people. I was like, man, that was an amazing turnout.
Yeah. Now, are you guys doing, so I want to see you do a headlining show. Cause how long do you play if you're headlining? Do you play like an hour and a half?
You know, I think it's usually about an hour and 15.
Okay.
Inning shows. So yeah. And we've got, man, and you're in Arizona?
Yeah.
We're playing in Tucson in July, but I don't know who we're playing with or if we're opening or headlining. I think that's our show. So, you know, absolutely.
I'll come down. Yeah, that would be fun. That's only like 2 hours away if I'm around, if it makes sense. Cause yeah, I'd like to see more of the deep cuts and stuff. You have such a great catalog. Like I was listening to the first 2 albums today to kind of refresh my memory. I was like, oh, some of these songs are really good. Like, is it Poison Angel? I like that song.
Yeah, that was
kind of a deeper cut, but I was like, oh, this is like a good riff.
Yeah. That was always a fun one to play. I don't think we've played it in years, you know, but it was in the set at one point. And, you know, the more records you have out, it starts getting tougher and tougher to figure out which songs to play. But we try and kind of get a good mix between the ballads and the ones we have to play and the rockers and then the proggy type, you know, stuff like Rainbow or Tin Soldier. So, yeah. Yeah,
I love the Down Incognito. I know you weren't on that record, but you get to play that song live now. Like, do you like that song?
Oh yeah, it's so different. You know, I don't think it probably took a little bit to grow on me because it's so different. But yeah, it's fun to play, and I mean the crowd everybody's singing that one. So
yeah, that was cool. Like I went down and I found the steakhouse where they filmed that video, and I took a picture, and then I put the caption, you know, and you commented on it. I was like, well, this is kind of weird. Like I'm posting this picture and the keyboard player from the actual band is commenting on it. Like that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I vaguely remember that. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. So is there anything, I mean, God, you've done so many, I mean, Steve Perry, you've written a hit TV theme song, like you've toured with like everyone. Is there anything that you haven't done or anybody that you would want to either meet or jam with or tour or write with that you haven't been able to yet?
Oh God. I mean, well, I said this on another podcast and I probably should come up with a little bit more of a variety, but I would love to write a song with Pink of all things. I think
super talented.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to 2 of her shows, and they're a couple of the best shows I've ever seen. Just the pacing, and I mean, man, she can build a song like that. You know, the duet she did with Steven Tyler, and just she's awesome.
Is she in Nashville?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know where she lives, but I just throw that out just for fun because I just walked out of her shows going, man. I went the first time kind of just going, I know it's gonna be probably more pop and all that. I tried to see a lot of different stuff, and we walked out of there. There was a bunch of us that went. I had gotten like 12 tickets because my wife had access to a suite, and I was with Jimmy from Train and some other people. And
Jimmy, okay, yeah,
and we just were all completely floored how good she was. So
does your wife, is she in the business or something, or how does she get the suites?
No, she's in marketing and radio. She did radio for a lot of years. And so just through that. So yeah.
How does that work? Like, do you have those connections? Can you just call people and say, I'm Paul Taylor, like, give me good seats?
Absolutely not.
Damn it.
No, that
would be like one of the best benefits.
I get in. No, I wish I'm fine.
Some of the bands, like if Skid Row was in town, you wanted to see them, I'm sure you could just call them, right?
If it's my buds, yeah, of course, And a matter of fact, we're playing a show with them Saturday night. It's going to be Quiet Riot, us, Warrant and Skid Row in Kentucky.
Oh, that'll be a blast.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. And I guess Rudy's back in Quiet Riot, so that'll be fun to see. And
Yeah, what is your thought on that with the Quiet Riot stuff? Because people hate and they're like, there's only one original member. Or at one point, I think there was no original members. But for people that want to see Quiet Riot songs performed, I mean, there's really no other option. If I want to go and hear like a Quiet Riot album track, the only way to do that would be to go to a Quiet Riot show.
Yeah, or a tribute band. And my thought on that is, it's like, it's music. It's like, no matter who it's coming from. And yeah, if you get the chance to see the original band and there's most of them in there, or like in Winger's case, weirdly enough, all 5 original guys, which is very rare, of course.
Awesome.
And that's when we don't have subs, because of course John and Reb are constantly, doing other shows. But it's music is supposed to make people happy, and like we have a Journey tribute band in town that plays called Resurrection. They are fantastic, and I go down there and have beers. I'm friends with the guys, and it's a blast. And there's moments that, and after playing with Steve Perry for 3 years, I would know. There's moments that they're so good, I kind of forget who I'm watching, because they really nail it. So, and the place is sold out every time, even if they play 2 nights, sold out, because people want to hear those songs. And, and yeah, I'm sure they would all rather see the original people doing it. But as time goes on, that's getting tougher and tougher, So,
well, yeah, and then the other thing that's going on is now some of the original members, people are saying, well, they can't do it. Like, I don't know if you saw this video of Bon Jovi. It was one song. I didn't see the whole concert, and everyone's saying, oh, he needs to hang it up because he cracked a couple notes or something. I don't know. Do you have an opinion on that? Like, is there a time where bands need to maybe hang it up, or do you think maybe he just had an off night?
God, I don't know. I mean, that's up to the band, and I don't know. I haven't heard anything, but I've heard he's having a rough time, which is really sad. I mean, if there's anybody I sympathize with, it's the singers, because even the ones that are pulling it off pretty well, it's hard for them. It's hard for Kip and everybody. I mean, as you get older, your vocal cords thicken, and we all wrote songs back in the day that were through the stratosphere high.
Right.
But like in Kip's case, he works very hard to be able to do these shows. He warms up and he does cool down exercises, and he's very careful, and he doesn't party. And, like he says, it's like, hey man, this is a lot more fun for you guys than it is for me, because I have to get out there and constantly be, worried about my voice going down, and that's with all of them,
Yeah, that's gotta be, I can't imagine. It's got to be so hard. Yeah, because you're right. When your voice, people age, and then it's just like you said, you wrote these songs in the 80s that were like screaming, and those have got to be some of the hardest songs to sing. I just can't imagine trying to scream.
Yeah, like the scream at the beginning of Madeleine. I'm always just amazed. He just wails it out, still. All the work he's put into preserving his voice has definitely paid off, And,
yeah, I saw you guys live just those couple months ago, and everything sounded like top notch. It was incredible. I was really impressed.
Thanks. Yeah, it's
fun. Okay. Well, I guess that's all I have for you. Unless there's anything else, is there any other projects you have that you can talk about? I thought that you said something about you're working with somebody, but it was like top secret.
Well, that would have been Mick.
Okay, so that one's out. Nothing else.
Say that we had worked on some stuff. So and it's keep your ears peeled for it, and probably the end of the year. And it's, as he says, it's mean.
I can't wait. That's going to be amazing. And because I don't think there's a new Motley album, so this is like what we got is a new Mick album, which is pretty cool too.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And but that's about it. Other than just going to start really focusing on getting some of these songs of mine out, and I'll probably just release them one by one. I don't know. I'm not going to put out a record, I don't think. I just
why not? You should do like the Paul Taylor box set. I don't want to hear it all.
Yeah, the Paul Taylor and Friends is what
Are you going to put out the demo of Miles Away with Eric Martin? Because I can't find that anywhere.
About to mention Eric. He's one person that me and Eric have not written, in years. since like the 80s probably. And he's definitely one guy I'd love to do another song with Eric, you know.
Was he kind of like, was he always really funny? Because he was so funny on my podcast. I never met the guy, and he's making fun of me and just like acting like we're old friends. I was like, is he always like this?
Always like that.
Okay.
Always has been. And yeah, as long as I can remember. And I mean, that's, you know, I mean, me and Eric go way back. I found Eric I went down to San Francisco to a club called Mabuhay in the 70s. And he was
the 70s. Damn.
singing in a band called Kid Courage. And I was like, oh my God, who is that guy? And so I told my friend Donovan, man, we got to have that guy for our singer. So I found out they were playing the next week again. So I went down to see him, and I was going to get to know him and stuff. And he wasn't in the band anymore. And I'm like, hey, where's your singer? And they're like, we don't know, you know? And so anyway, long story short, some girl that I knew him and just said, oh, he's in Sacramento at his mom's for a while. And so long story short, contacted him. I was being managed by Stevie Nicks' brother. And so they flew us down to LA, and that started a year-long thing down in LA of us recording and writing some songs that are hysterical. And when we listen back now, you know, like once again, we were trying to do songs that were way up there. If you ask Eric about it, he'll be like, oh man, those guys were always making me sing. You know, he sounded like he was on helium. This song called Lonely, and it's, when I hear it now, I just die laughing. But, you know, that's how you learn, you know, you just write some stuff that sucks, and, you know, you get better, or hopefully you do. And, you know, I still write stuff that sucks, but at least I'm smart enough to instantly go, no, that one sucks, out, you know?
Oh, I'd love to hear those old ones though. That's always fun, especially the demo. Cause like, I just hear you guys, you both like rave about it, and Kip raved about it. And I'm like, oh, I kind of want to hear this.
Demo of Miles Away, that was kind of before, I mean, I still was terrible at recording. And that was actually before I'd tried to get into all the computer stuff. So I had a little 4-track thing. So the quality of it's horrible, but Eric sang the crap out of it. I mean,
yeah.
He is, even through my lousy sounding demo, his voice, you know, solely sold the song to everybody. And quite a few people had heard it and had interest in it at the time, and then Kip heard it, and I had gotten, you know, in Winger, and he's like, dude, we need to put that on one of our records. I'm like, okay, great. I'm glad it has a home, you know? So
isn't it Winger's biggest hit? It's Winger's biggest hit, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, it is.
According to the charts.
Huh?
According to the charts or whatever. It's the highest charting single for whatever that's worth. It's pretty cool.
I think so. Yeah, it's great, man. You know, it's always good to see, you know, a song have a home and have people respond to it. And you just never know. You just write what you feel and put it out there. And sometimes, you know, that's what I've learned. Like, sometimes I'll just think I wrote the best thing. And, you know, I've got a couple friends that I bounce stuff off of. And, you know, every once in a while, I'll just write one that I think I knocked it out of the park, and they'll go, it's all right.
Ouch.
You know, but that's the thing about songs, you know, there is no better or worse song. I mean, there's a lot of songs out there I don't like that are huge hits, and vice versa, you know. So, you know, and that's even my TV stuff. I would get really caught up in trying to write really good stuff for TV. And then I'll never forget, like 5 years ago, they asked me, they're like, hey, could you write like a grunge garage type thing? And so they gave me some examples, and it was all this really non-melodic stuff with these fuzz guitars. And I'm like, God, I don't even know if I could write something this bad. So I wrote this kind of song, but I was still doing what I naturally would do, creating melodies. And I'm like, okay, I got to dumb this down. And so I got this singer, I'm like, dude, if you can just sing, like when on the chorus, go down and just don't sing any real melody, and kind of just don't phrase it like you're drunk, just kind of, and he goes, man, it's gonna be like acting or something. I said, you couldn't sing it bad enough. Trust me. And so we finished it, and it was kind of, I don't know. I was like, okay, that's not my kind of music. And that thing has placed a lot. It was real high energy, but just sounded like noise. And
really?
It keeps placing. And every time I see it on one of my statements, I'm like, man, I need to just get out of my own way and write anything for TV, you know, because
that's fascinating. Can you say which song that is?
God, I'll have to go look up what it's even called. I mean, with that many songs, I get my statements, and a lot of times I can't even remember. I see song titles, and I'm like, which one is that? I have to go back but I'll dig it up. We'll get together when I play Tucson, and I'll play us some of this crazy stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds awesome. Great. Well, I always end each episode with a charity. Is there one you want to give a quick shout out to here at the end?
I'm always giving to St. Jude.
Okay. Yeah. I've promoted them many times. I'll put that in the show notes along with, I guess, what I put Winger's website. You don't have your own website. So.
Yeah, I don't. But yeah, I always, me and Mark Slaughter and some people took a van ride down from here to Memphis one day and went down there, and they gave us a tour all day at St. Jude. And
wow,
you don't walk out of that day without just going, the place operates on, it takes back then, which was like 10 years ago, $1 million a day. And it's, 95% donation that comes in to keep that place rolling. And it's just amazing what they do.
That's really cool. Yeah. It's such a great cause that who wouldn't support that? That's what I love about promoting charities like that. Cause it's like everybody, we can all get behind that,
Yeah. And I'll never, the funniest part of that day, they introduced us to this little group of kids that were kind of in remission and starting to do good. And Mark Slaughter is great with doing funny voices. And so he was rattling off some Donald Duck, and this little kid marches up right in his face and goes, "You're crazy." It was classic, man. It was like, but kids are awesome, man.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, such a terrible thing. Kids getting sick just doesn't seem right. So that's great. There's St. Jude's out there to kind of help with that, because it's a terrible thing.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this. And I'll see you on Tucson this summer, I guess. It'll be hot as hell. So wear shorts.
It's right toward the end of it. I know we're doing Tucson, and then the following night we're in Las Vegas. So. Oh,
Vegas is fun too. I'm going there this weekend for the NFL draft. So that should be fun.
Oh, cool, man.
Yep.
Well, we'll be in touch. And
okay.
Absolutely. I'll play you some of that stuff.
Okay. Cool. Sounds good. Thanks so much. See you later.
Thank you, man.
Bye-bye. Thanks again to Paul Taylor for coming on the show. Make sure to check out the Winger website for tour dates, and follow Paul and Winger on social media for more updates. Paul's Instagram is fun. He posts some good stuff on there. That's how I found him. I'm on there too. If you want to follow me, my podcast account and on Instagram, and my podcast account on TikTok, I post short clips of the episodes so you can get a little preview. And make sure to follow me somewhere or subscribe to the show on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or YouTube, wherever you listen or watch. We have some exciting guests coming up, some music-related people, some non-music related people, all super interesting in my opinion. I love to keep the show eclectic. It keeps it fun for me and hopefully for the listeners too. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I do want to make a short announcement. We recently had a friend of mine pass away unexpectedly in a car wreck. So I'd like to dedicate this episode to her. Not that she was a big fan of Paul Taylor or Winger or any of that stuff, but she was just a good friend. April Whale, I'm thinking about you. So I just want to dedicate this to her. And it was very inspirational. So life is short. So just something to think about for everybody. Thanks for listening. Have a great rest of your day. And remember to shoot for the moon.